So now, what are these demons and parasites um, and pathogens really trying to do? Right, injure us. But what are they targeting? What are the targets of pathogens? What are they going to affect? Um, the one that we've been talking the most about is our DNA. Our DNA is changing who the cell thinks they are. They can go into the nucleus um, and affect our genes, our DNA, our deoxyribonucleic acid. Um, so yeah, deoxyribonucleic. It's a nucleus. It's made of ribose partly. It's deoxygenated acid. So the ribo comes from ribose, which is a form of sugar, right? So it's a form of energy, and this energy can be altered, and a cell's DNA is altered by external influence. So I use this example. So um, if you name your son idiot, he's gonna believe he's an idiot. He's gonna think that way, and it's gonna affect his functionality. Um, don't do that, but you get what I'm trying to say. And the second thing that can be affected is the ATP production. So the energy production, they're gonna drain you of it. That's what they're going for. They want to steal you from energy. They're selfish beings. They're like the aspect of our psyche that is ego based, that seeks control. The seven deadly sins, um, these type of things, right? So the energy is drained. Um, they decrease our aerobic respiration, which is our spirit, which is our aero, our oxygen intake is decreased, which means our energy is going to decrease. And the next thing that they affect is our cell membrane, which is the outer surface of our cells, the skin deep layer. So if you're letting somebody affect your membrane, this can occur in different ways. You're letting somebody change who you think you should look. You are changing yourself in a way to look based on external um, influence. Or maybe you're letting things in to your body through the surface. And that could also be damaging to your spirit. Your body is your temple. You don't want to leave your front door open to everybody. I think you guys know kind of what I'm talking about. Soul ties, negative energies, all that. So you have to respect your body, and you have to respect, and you have to have the knowledge that these things feed on energies from you, and these energies from you that they get these things come from a lower vibrational energy. It's because they are lower vibrational beings. They're more like animals. Um, so just like our body has 7 chakras, the earth itself also has 7 chakras, principle of correspondence. as above, so below. And these entities, these negative beings, they get their energy from these lower chakra points, and their main source can be referred to for many years as the dark satellite, is what they call it. And basically, that's just a representation of Saturn and the Sethians and the Saturnians, um, Satanists, and all these devil worshippers and all this animalistic um, societies. They they get their energy this way because that's how it's the biggest drain of our energy, right? So they feed on our dopamine and serotonin. These are both um, the pleasure hormones of our brain, right? And hormones can cause harm when they're out of whack, when they're out of balance. So things that drain you of dopamine and serotonin are things like, um, riotous living, um, excessive masturbation, or you know, lustful activities, drugs and alcohol, hard drugs, that is. It's or food. Food can also be something like this that will drain your dopamine and serotonin. So you have to keep in mind what you eat and what energies you're bringing in. Um, could be reservoirs of energy for things other than yourself. So um, got a little off track there, but the next thing they can do is affect your protein synthesis. So you're not going to create as much proteins. What are proteins? Proteins are the building blocks of our cells' life. They're like the tools of our cells that they use to get their work done. And if you're not, and these demons, or these pathogens, or these people that drain your energy, right? They're gonna try and take your tools away to build it back up yourself. So that's why your protein levels are decreasing your cells. These things are all happening by parasites. These parasitic things, whether you want to believe the spiritual aspect of it or not, is really up to you. But you can at least believe in the physical aspect of what I'm talking about. Um, but it all corresponds. So protein synthesis, they can't create the tools that they need. The tools to find their purpose. They need those specific keys, right? These toxins that they release into our body, um, they they create free radicals, and free radicals are imbalanced ions, or imbalanced elements, right? So they can give you oxygen, but it's not the right oxygen that you need. It's actually the superoxide anion. Um, for example, this is one of them. Or maybe they'll give you the um, hydroxyl radical, um, which you get from alcohol. Um, and hydrogen peroxide also is a radical. It's why it hurts when you put it on, you know, something that stings. Um, if this was in your blood, if any of these are in your blood, they're going to cause damage. They're going to affect the structure of these cells. That's how they're poisonous. That's why alcohol is a poison. And just real quick, let's go over the word alcohol. So it actually comes um, from two derivatives, right? Kul. Hang on, let me just want to make sure I'm spelling it right. Oh, okay, yeah, I wasn't. Al Kul. This is ancient Arabic derivatives. Um, so al can mean it can mean deity or God or simply an in Arabic, like as in like an envelope or whatever. So kul comes from gul, like a ghoul, um, which actually, but kul itself, that's where we get ghoul from. But kul means an evil spirit that robs graves and feeds on corpses. That's really the history of alcohol. Um, Alcohol, or if you look at even they even have them shoehorned in the Batman comic books. Ra's al Ghul, the demon's head. He he created the liquid that drove men crazy and started the secret societies. It's kind of cool. You guys should check it out. But so yeah, this is why people. It's a, cool means evil spirit that feeds on corpses, and corpses comes from corpus, which just means body. So these are things that feed. Alcohol is something that feeds on your body, um, and that's why they call alcohol spirits. You know, different liqueurs. Um, Pick your poison, right? And like I was saying with the labels, man, they put the skull and crossbones on this liquid. Imagine what kind of vibration that is already giving off of itself. Um, so, I speak from experience in terms of alcohol. It's not a very good thing. Let me just say that. It's better to just keep it out of your body. Okay, so the pathogens release toxins, and all those different types of pathogens. Um, Basically, what they're trying to do, no matter what they are, if they're a virus, a bacteria, a parasite, a fungus, a protozoan, no matter what it is, they're trying to use you for their energy source. They're trying to drain you of your energy. Um, they have a lot simpler composition compared to us, and that's you should really keep that in mind because we are infinitely more powerful based on that relationship. But it's not to say that they aren't necessary. It's not to say that they don't have their own place, right? Everything has to have an opposite. Everything has to have a a demon and an angel. A demon, if we look at the word demon, comes from deity of the moon. And why is that? Why does what's so bad about the moon? You might wonder. This is because this is also where we get words like monster, which is a moon star, um, or lunatic. All different terms of vilifying somebody that have to do with the moon. So why does this have to do with the moon? Um, the moon is the first celestial body that our atoms ascend to when we die. And this is written about again and again, symbolized in a lot of ancient myths and structures. Sorry about that. So, what does this all have to do with the moon? Why is the lunatic and the monster and the demons, why is this all from the moon? And in order to understand that, we have to really go deep again. We got to go back in some ancient wisdom, right? So, back to ancient Egypt, where a lot of the origin of these demon stories and everything came out. So, there explains that there's poles to everything in the principles, right? I erased it, but the principle of polarity exists, right? So there's souls on this planet that are here willingly and not willingly. So, and everywhere in between, that may or may not want to be here, and the souls that may be good intentioned, bad intentioned, path of others, path of self, giving energy, taking energy, causing suffering, causing life, causing love. So the cells that are here, not that aren't willingly here, they usually have a lot of negative emotion built into them, just from the fact that they're somewhere they don't want to be. So it's like everything exists, in a sine wave. The principle of vibration. I forgot to mention that everything that exists is in vibration or is in some sort of movement. The voice that you're hearing right now is exhibiting vibrations and waves that your body can interpret into sound, and then that's thought form, right? So this wave is literally going into your brain, creating pictures and doing what it needs to do. Words can change reality. What you call yourself, you will become. What you call others, they end up feeling and sometimes believing. So you yourself can give energy and give love, or take away energy, take away love from people with your words. So I could punch you in the arm and it may hurt for a good 10, 15 minutes, or somebody could say something to you that could affect you for years and could physically manifest, will physically manifest in you. So you have to be careful with your words. Don't hold your breath. Don't waste your breath, right? So back to the sine, right? Now the sine wave, they didn't have microscopes back then. They weren't able to really prove this scientifically like we could and do now. But they were able to know these things from 10,000 years ago. So everything's on a sine wave. You have the positive and negative, and the neutral line. And there's the correspondence, there's the cause and effect, and there's the wave of everything. So this also, represents some things I've already went over. The hero's journey, the sun's journey, our soul's journey. That's the symbol of the earth, by the way. But you have to imagine it like this, right? And it's just these cycles that go on again and again, as waves, right? On bigger and smaller scales, as above, so below. So this could be the age of a cell in our body. Think of it as clockwise, you know, start here, of course, in Aries, Libra, Tropic of Cancer, the Tropic of Capricorn, um, winter, spring, summer, autumn. Oops. um, there's a change in everything, and so we're talking about the moon. So when we go back to ancient Egyptian times and how they talk about these principles, right? And how there's beings or souls that come down to earth from a higher vibration, from a higher plane, um, that come here willingly and unwillingly, right? So if we go back to the sine wave, the ancient Egyptians had a word for people that were coming down into this existence, right? Because if you're coming down, you're on the top of the hill, you're coming down, right? So they called the people that were traveling down the Neto or Neta. Or, could be off the spelling. I apologize. Neta, okay, or the Nephilim, ancient Hebrew, right? The fallen ones, um, the ones that come down into our existence now. Cancer, the sign is ruled by the moon at the summer solstice. Well, during Cancer, and and the moon is the chief entity that that decides whether whether something will rise or fall, right? So that's why it's vilified, and that's what a lot of people don't want you to know because they just want you to think it's a rock. They just want you to think that it doesn't produce its own light, and it isn't a source of energy. Um, so when we die, our atoms release from our bodies due to loss of oxygen, loss of spirit or breath, respiration, and our vibration rises, but we can't ascend to a higher frequency or or density until we have the right qualifications, and that is to say that a lot of people on this earth have animalistic behavior, and if you have an earthly animalistic behavior, you will be sent back to right your wrongs, to find balance, to find the equilibrium that you need, right? Those of high degrees of nature um, must learn nurture, and those of high degrees of nurture must experience nature. So if we go back, the ones that are rising, by the way, Elohim, right? Because El in ancient Hebrew is like the letter for Mamun, I believe, but it just means like it's electricity, right? It's the phallic, the male energy. Um, This is all just electricity and magnetism. We live in an electric universe, and so it's a constant flow and a constant change in everything, right? So the everything is aspects of light, though. Elohim is Hebrew for becoming godly, and Neta is for becoming more like nature. Okay, so just like I was saying, there's a direct correspondence to everything. We are both a part of both these forces at the same time, and they both are aspects of our own psychology. Just like we have our own angels and demons within us, um, that habituate into their own habitat from our habits, right? And we'll get into that in a second. But the moon is this is why the moon is vilified, is because it has to put things back into nature if need be. So those who act like unconscious beasts or animals, um, will come back into a life, that will lead them either towards, you know, de-evolution or evolution in terms of their soul path, whether they're going up or down on whatever scale, in the purpose of growth. Um, we need negative things though. We need stressors. You can only build a muscle by breaking it down and rebuilding it. You can only grow crops, um, by threshing them all out and replanting. So, let's go into. I know this is like probably a little longer than it needs to be again, but thanks for sticking with me. If you guys are still here, I really appreciate it. I just got a lot on my, um, heart that I try and get off. That, I go into. I know I keep going and going and going. All right, so let's go into the origins and of demons, devils, and angels. Right. So let's look. Let's look again at the word parasite. Parasite. Um, this just means next to. This just means something. These are beside us. Um, with and we have parasites that we encounter every day, whether it's on a a very micro level or in everyday life. Maybe some of your family are parasites. Maybe some of your friends are parasites. Um, you, you know by it's people after you hang out, or you're around them, that you just feel drained of your energy afterwards. A lot of narcissistic archetypes fit this, um, because they themselves have a false perception of their own identity, thinking that they only find, um, stability off the, absorption of energy from others, because they don't believe that they can have their own energy. And it really comes from deep, deep, deep feelings of insecurity and, no self worth or dignity. Um, and you got to keep that in mind when thinking about these negative entities and negative forces, is that if anybody needs love, it's them. Um, so the thing is, parasites, sap you of your energy, um, and it means beside something, right? So maybe you've heard the term, oh, some I just he just seems beside himself. You know what I mean? You just that's when you're just, you're in a maladaptive situation, and your soul is being pulled by something. You're beside yourself. You know what I mean? So let's, talk about parasite. Um, so if you think about, you know, we'll go back to the word demon. D, means like away. So a deviant is someone who deviates from their path or from the path. So via, means path, um, away. So away from the path. Um, we talk via Skype. It's a form of, of path, and So there's a lot of different meanings for that, but it just basically means that something that is off its desired path or off the given path. And so if you look at the word angels or angles, you start to notice that the light that we need in our life and those that bring light to our life or love to our life act as angels or angles of light, right? And demons, you have degrees, which is why, um, it has to do with going full circle. It has to do with 360 degrees. Um, and angles are the different um, refractions of light from the planetary bodies and from the luminaries. So the luminaries, the sun and the moon, and then the planetary bodies, um, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn, and Mercury, the five visible planets. They refract different light from different angles from the sun, giving us different variations of energy that we receive. Right, the sun is the primary energy source of this planet. Um, and Mother Earth, Mother Magdalene, magnetism. These all have to do with the electricity of the universe. Elohim, electricity, positive male force, um, magnetism, um, gravity, grave, levity, and gravity. Um, it's opposite forces, right? So these demons and these parasites, they affect us physiologically by screwing with our DNA, screwing with the script and words that we hold within ourselves, that we hold on to. So these affect us physiologically that way, but they also affect us on the outside that way too. So everything, everything occurs in degrees, right? So the sun's light can both heal you and kill you. So you have to keep that in mind, right? There's good and bad to everything, um, and we need poles in this life, and it's so that we can find unity, so that we can be centered. Because everything with poles exists because of each other, right? If you have a balance board, you have to have both sides for it to be balanced. So they are one. They really are all one. Um, and but polarity in this world, offers chances for learning, experience, mistakes, growth. Let's go back to the principle of correspondence, um, and we have to understand why these demons, like, let's talk about a little of where they're getting their energy from. Okay, so when talking about the dark satellite, um, it's there's not a lot out there on it because this is very hidden, and the reason it's hidden is because the churches, the elites, and these people of power, um, they don't want this to be revealed that they're connected to this dark satellite, this lower Earth vibrational energy, because it's the source of their energy. Um, they don't want to show people um, where they're getting their power and their energy from. So, criminals hide their crimes by pointing to others, right? So you have to judge the judge the tree on what it bears, what its fruit is. So you have to realize that this dark satellite um, is the energy source that houses the disembodied souls of once human beings, that are either no longer able to incarnate as humans, or that have yet to become conscious or become on a level of human consciousness, um, and rise above the animal nature, which is why I brought up the Gospel of Thomas reference. So, the souls of murderers, serial causes of pain and harm, psychopaths are said to be animalistic and not human, and they succumb to this lower earthly animal energy. And and it's not just the psychopaths and churches and the false shepherds that submit to this chakra. Um, it's that most people on earth are just following what they're fed, what to believe, right? Um, in terms of chasing these these material desires, such as you know money in terms of having power and dominion over others, and vanity and lust and greed and gluttony and all these lower vibrations um, come from control and fear of loss of control. Basically, the ego, right? The ego is formed out of two basic fears. Um, the fear of abandonment and entrapment. So when you realize that all is one, both of those fears evaporate, much like the ego is supposed to. Maybe not all the way though. You kind of need a little bit, but so in this amazing book, The Light of Egypt, there's two parts to it, and it's more ancient Hermetic wisdom. But on page 133 in The Light of Egypt, you'll realize that man, it exclaims, man has seven chakras, and um, bearing in mind that the earth also has seven chakras, a sevenfold constitution. It corresponds to the exact same constitution of man. Um, as above, so below again. So our animal chakra corresponds to our lowest chakra. This extends to, if you think about it, like animals have a tail, it's an extension of this lower chakra. Um, but the dark satellite is the focus of the Earth's animal force. In other words, it is the realm of the undeveloped good, the realm of the unpotentiated consciousness, right? So in nature, whose terrible motto revolves around the word self, which is the society that we live in today, is very self-oriented, self-driven. There's little collaboration, lots of competition, ego. It's based on these lower vibrations, and I could get into some of my opinions on some of these death cults and some of these horrible institutions. Um, but I'm going to spare you guys that because I know this has been a long time. So I'll get into that in another video. But going back to why the moon is vilified, the moon, being one of the luminaries, is also the first spiritual checkpoint that our souls ascend to. And in order to pass this, we must elevate past this lower chakral energy. And if we've succumbed to that energy for the majority of our existence on Earth, we will incarnate in meat and flesh again, to come back into a physical form to learn, experience, grow, and realize a higher potential, one of love and one of understanding, one of consciousness. So that's why the moon is bad, because you can't get past her. You can't. It's beyond words. Words. You can't lie to God because it doesn't speak any language. right? It's karma is something you can't avoid. So all these lower chakral, basically animals, you know, knowingly worship this lower chakral energy, and that's when they are Pentecostal, when they are speaking in tongues, speaking with the Holy Spirit. They're actually speaking the animal language. They're speaking. They're of the lower earth chakral energy, um, and let's take a look at the etymology of Pentecostal. So when they're speaking in tongues, they're speaking through this God of theirs. They're speaking in the animal spirit of the dark satellite. Um, so when we think of the word nature and how these are parts of our psychology, these are parts of our life, right? We have to go back into where the word nature comes from, and nature comes from ancient Egypt, or nature, um, and it's to nature is to emphasize the break in the vibration of the word, um, a downward fall, a descent. And as we went over earlier, the Nephilim were also called the Neto or Neta, nature, right? And nature comes from the Egyptian, even more if you go deeper, NTR, right? Um, and the T itself, um, whether it's uppercase or lowercase, um, has always had connotations with God and with the earth as well. This is the sign for the earth. Um, but what's interesting is if we look at the other meanings um, of nature in the Egyptian um, language, we find that the words for she and you and we and they all have this within them. So they know that nature is a part of us being as we are incarnate, and must succumb to nature to a certain extent with our bodies on this planet. Um, but that doesn't mean we cannot become conscious and nurture our bodies, um, to nurture the nature and to nature the nurtured. Um, so we can also look at the Latin root natura, um, which actually means the course of things or the constitution of things, the quality and literally birth, right? So natura comes from natus, and natus means born, right? That's why we have terms like neonatal unit, right? A new natal, a new birth, nata, or even the name Natalie, um, is a word for new life and new birth, and it all has to do with nature. So this has to do with natas. Also can come from um, nasi, which also means birth, which is said to come from ganasti, which is knowledge of life, knowledge of birth, like Gnostic, gnosis, nasi, um, life, so knowledge of life. And then if you go the other way, you can keep going with these words because they all connect, right? So nasi also has to do with the word gene. Um, and gene has to do with heredity and the innate disposition that we have on this earth. Um, so that was a little bit about nature and and how that it is a part of us, but it's not us. We have to certain extents, you know, we need to eat, we need to intake energy, we need to nurture the bodies that we have, the nature that we have. We have to nurture the nature we have in order to adapt and rise above um, vibrations that can affect us on this level. Okay, so guys, to wrap up, I just want to go over some of the key points we went over. So, what you take into your body, whether it's words, food, energy, is what becomes a part of you. So be careful what you eat, be careful what you say, be careful what you affirm to yourself, be careful um, which people may be parasitic in your life, which different angels and demons you you can see. So and also know that adaptation is the key to life. Um, we must adapt to survive. That is to say that it is always possible as long as you know it can be. The minute you stop knowing in yourself and who you really are is the moment you stray away from your authentic path. Um, so stick on the path, and thanks for sticking on this path. I know that was really long, and I really appreciate you guys. I have more videos on the way, so I'm excited. And I have a documentary in the works um, based on Curacao, the island of curing, which should be very, very informative um, and hopefully helpful for a lot of people. So thanks, guys. Appreciate you.